Ka pai ni whānau, ho mai anō te pakipaki ki te taumata māreikura.
All right, now we're moving into the next phase of our session, which is Eye to the Future Rangatahi panel. Whilst I'm inviting our Rangatahi panel to come down and join us, I'm just going to play a video, just try and get that set up for us in the background, for us to really highlight some of the cool local whāngarei businesses that are doing amazing work. Oh, look, and here's some cool feedback from the Slido, because we've been talking about Slido all day. And this will be nice for our whānau order team. We're asking, well, what does whānau order mean to you? So cool. So anyone that wants to keep feeding into that, we'll keep this open for at least the next week for you to share your whakaaro. Awesome. So hopefully our team at the back will be okay to put a video on. I'm just going to invite our whānau. Kia ora, Alyx. Yeah, cool. Mahera. Cool. Sharnece, yay. Hi, Minnie. So whānau, we're hurtling towards the end today because it's been a super big day. And again, today we've heard about our past, we've heard about our present, and now here is an opportunity for our amazing young people to talk about the future. And who best to say that than this amazing group of 4 stunning under 30-year-olds. Happy to introduce my friend Alyx Pivac. The kaupapa that she's going to speak about today is Mauri and the moana, because I think that when we think about the economy, we might be just thinking about certain things, but what might that economic development look like in regards to our relationship to Tangaroa and the sea. And then beside her we have Mahera Maihi. Mahera is going to talk a bit, I hope today, about gross national happiness, a different kind of metric to help us assess how can we look at the economy in a completely different way. So Mahera's going to talk a bit about that, and then she's also going to showcase her amazing new trust. And we've got some whānau there rocking these cool t-shirts called Mā Te Huruhuru. So we're going to hear a bit about the Mā Te Huruhuru kaupapa. Beside her we have Sharnece Joyce, who is a representative of the Princess Trust. You may see her beaming in nearly every week on the Taitokerau page, where she is interviewing amazing rangatahi leaders and does a really cool session called Whakawhanaungatanga Fridays, which is where people are coming together to connect and link up. And then finally we have the stunning Minnie May. You see all these gifts that we've all been exposed to today. It was actually Minnie May and her creativity that curates, pulls it all together, and also runs the e-commerce part of Inno Native. So you're going to hear a bit about her story soon. So Mauri ora kia koutou. Firstly, I believe Sharnece, you're up first.
Wow, so me first, right. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Sharnece Joyce taku ingoa, no taku era hau. Ko Ngāpuhi me Ngāti Whātua Ngā iwi. Kia ora koutou. Ko Sharnece Joyce. So my name is Sharnece Joyce. I am 26 years old. I am a multi-entrepreneur. So I have several businesses, 5 limited businesses, 2 social enterprises. But more recently, as Kay said, I've been brought on to the Princess Trust, which was established here 18 months ago in New Zealand. And I work with them as the kaiawhina facilitator or co-facilitator with others, and more recently the sort of lead in a program called Whanaunga Fridays, which Kay mentioned, where we bring inspiring leaders into a kōrero conversation on Zoom weekly. So a little bit about me, I guess. I started in the program as a rangatahi last year in Paihia in November, and then quite recently, due to COVID, like many others, was looking for other employment. So my employer sort of made me redundant at the time, and I reached out to the contacts that I had, and the Princess Trust was one of those contacts that I had made connections with. And so they brought me on in May as a facilitator for the Enterprise program, which is a program that we run now online, but beforehand it was face-to-face. And so it's for 18 to 30-year-olds that are interested in business, and it's a free course that we provide, and we talk about their ideas, developing their ideas, and how they might be able to bring those ideas into fruition. So from the concept of a business plan through to being able to talk about and pitch your business idea, and then later on partnering them with mentors. So I started with them sort of on a temporary contract in May, and then just recently, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, came on permanent full-time. So I guess I'm a bit of a success story when it comes to COVID-19. Everyone seems to be losing their jobs, and I was one of those lucky people who was able to find a new one in an area that I'm passionate about. So we sort of work with Rangatahi across Aotearoa to try and ignite their passions. And it's been a really interesting process. Last year when I completed part of the program in November, I was also fortunate enough to meet Prince Charles himself when he was here on the royal visit in Paihia. And I also spoke to him about a program that I wanted to run. So I'm proud to say in 13 weeks I'll be delivering a rangatahi program here in Northland, in Kaipara and Whānau, to encourage our rangatahi to reintegrate with te ao Māori, learn about their whakapapa, tikanga of the marae and the kawa, but also reconnection. So I'm really proud to be talking about that, and to be able to say that that's something I brought into fruition with the Princess Trust, and in 13 weeks in January of this year we'll be able to bring to fruition and do that with 40 rangatahi. So I've been really excited with that. So yeah, that's me talking about the Enterprise program, I guess. We are still currently looking for partners or those that are interested in working with the Princess Trust. So if you have rangatahi, or there's rangatahi out there on the live stream that are aged 18 to 30, possibly don't know even if business is something that they're interested in doing, I encourage them to get in touch with us, to call me, the kaiawhina, who will be either texting or calling you back, and to have a kōrero about if it's a possibility. No idea is too small, and we want to encourage rangatahi to go with their passion. So if there's something that they're passionate about, to be able to talk to that and to say that they are able to do those things, and that it's okay if they're a little bit nervous about it, we're there to help them through. Next week, our team will be meeting with roughly about 30 mentors in Auckland and Tāmaki Makaurau to do some training. And then the rangatahi that we have already previously had come through our program will be matched with those mentors in a 1 to 2 year mentor program, where they'll be able to ask questions to their mentors and have monthly support. And then hopefully next year we're looking at seed funding. So that's the third pillar that we'll be bringing to fruition next year, where we'll be able to have rangatahi pitch their ideas or their programs to us, and hopefully we can provide them with some sort of seed funding so that they can go out there and trial and test or pilot their ideas. So it's been a bit of a learning curve, and everyone is always talking about the word pivot. So we definitely have pivoted over the period, and we're just moving now offline and into some face-to-face engagement. So we're hoping within the next few weeks that we do a face-to-face, we'll come back into face-to-face delivery, but we have been delivering online since May. And that's been an opportunity for us as well to learn, but also for us to connect rangatahi all over the country. So we've had people zooming in from Kaitaia through to Whānau, all the way down to Ōtautahi in Christchurch. So it's also expanded our reach and been able to connect rangatahi to each other. So if they do go into these spaces, they've got people or they know people in those areas. And so, yeah, lastly, the other thing with Whanaunga Fridays was that we spoke to rangatahi and we asked them what they needed. And COVID's been very hard on everyone, and they've all, everyone's been unsure about what they were going to do for their future. So when we spoke to rangatahi, they said two things. They wanted inspiration and they wanted a way to connect to people, because there's not a lot of these summits happening anymore and everything's going online. And they can't, a lot of the rangatahi said they can't find a way to be able to contact people of inspiration or people that they want to, or they believe that they might have been able to be in contact with at these other summits. So Whanaunga Fridays is about doing that. It's about bringing the rangatahi and these sorts of people together. And so every Friday at 3:30 to 4:30 we have a free Zoom call with rangatahi all over the country and whānau, because we know that it's inclusive and that we have to be inclusive of the rest of the whānau. So we invite everyone to come along and to zoom in and speak to some of our speakers. We've had Ming Foon, we've had a girl, Naya Williams, who's a part of Māori Kākahu. Just last week we had Sunny Ngātai, and Hemi Kelly, and we've had so many more that are lined up. So it's all about engaging, connecting, and finding a way through the future together. So yeah, ngā mihi whānau.
I'm just going to stand up, whānau. Testing. Oh, well. Kia ora koutou, ko Mahera Maihi tōku ingoa, he uri tēnei no ngāpuhi i te tau tōku pāpā, no Ngāti Whātua i te tau tōku mama. I am very, very happy to be here, and I just want to firstly shout out to my whānau for coming out tonight, or today. I am privileged to hail from a large whānau, 7 sisters and 3 brothers, so we're pretty much a hapu of our own. And being a millennial and also being ngāpuhi, I'm just going to go straight to it. So I'm going to go to my call to action, and I have 2. So my first call to action actually is for all of our Māori whānau, and that's to get out there and vote so that we've got more Māori in Parliament. It's very important that we do that, and that's something that I also encourage our young people to do, who I work with quite regularly. So that's my first call to action. And then my second call to action on the back of that is that when we elect you into these positions, Māori mā, to represent us, we want you to change the way that we measure the economy. Currently, we measure it using GDP, which is, as you know, a westernised tool. We used it during the Second World War to count the rations, but we know it's not sustainable for Māori, right? And so Bhutan, they derived a tool themselves, and you might have heard of it. It's called the Gross National Happiness Index, and it measures the happiness and the well-being of the people. How beautiful would that be if we start re-looking at the way that we measure the economy and financial performance, but rather measure the happiness of our people. In about 1995, Dr. Ronald Coleman, he created this other model, and it's called the Genuine Progress Indicator. And basically, that model looks at not only the well-being of the people, but also the well-being of Papatūānuku. And this looks at water pollution, noise pollution, air pollution. It also looks at climate change. So there's 3 factors in this model, in this particular model, the GPI model: environment, social, and economic. So Māori mā, when we elect you into these positions, you've got 3 years to convince the government that we want out with the GDP and we want in with either a GPI, or even better, if we can put money back into our people, because then maybe we can actually design our own model, a Māori model. Maybe there's already a model out there. I know Dr. Whatarangi Winiata, I know he was looking into one, but he just ran out of time and ran out of money, so I don't think that was completed. But how beautiful would that be if we actually changed the way we looked at the value of the economy and introduced happiness and well-being of our people in Papatūānuku. Koina, I'll leave that kōrero there. Yes, so mā te huruhuru, ka rere te manu, is a whakatauki that our company is guided by, and that basically, as you know, with the adorned feathers, the bird will fly, the bird being the rangatahi, and the feather, all of the life, social, and cultural skills that one needs to be strong, to fly independently out into the world, out from their nest, from their mums and their dads, to be contributing members of their hapu and their iwi. Unfortunately, my grandparents moved out of Kaikohe, where we're from, and into Auckland in the urban drift movement. So we were raised in Manirewa for most of our lives in Auckland. We're urban Māori. And I'm not going to be ashamed of that, because that's what shaped our culture. Otara was our breeding, our stomping grounds, and my dad was in the Stormtroopers for a very long time. So we've got that life experience where we come from Struggle Street. However, I wasn't going to let that define me, and so we created. When I say we, I do mean I, but we created an organisation. That's what we do. We're a collective. We don't talk about how sweet our kumara is, but we created Mā Te Huruhuru because, again, as millennials, as young people, we're not going to wait. We're not going to wait any longer, and we're going to mobilise. And a lot of us do. And my sisters here on the couch here, they've got beautiful stories to show about how they're mobilising. And probably everyone in this room actually have mobilised in some sort of way. But Mā Te Huruhuru basically is a youth organisation in South Auckland with 100% Māori staff who work with young people, at-risk young people in care, and we help them to break the cycle. If I could break the cycle and get out of it, then obviously I've got a bit of a formula, a bit of a method, and that's what I want to share with all of my young people. And that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm going to dedicate the rest of my life. I feel like I've found my purpose in life. I love it. I love what I do, and I'm going to continue to do that. So we work with young people from the age of 7 sadly, to 18, and then 20 if they've got the resources to come, to help them to break the cycle themselves. And as you know, in Tāmaki, there's our largest population of Ngāpuhi whānau there. And the largest portion of young people in care in Tāmaki are also Ngāpuhi, sadly. So we reach out to those whānau, we bring them in. I hired my cousins and my family. Yep, they also are care experienced, but they've got an educator, so we've got counsellors, we've got youth workers, social workers, admin, and we work alongside those young people to provide counselling for them, to provide one-on-one coaching for them. And a really cool program that we've just created is a clothing enterprise program, where the young person will come in, and maybe they've been out of school for 2 years, or they've got learning difficulties, or whatever it is. They're going to be the cohort of young people who fall through the gaps, who aren't good enough for other people to pick up, or who just don't have an opportunity. So we work with them to teach them graphic design, to teach them how to use vinyl printers, screen printers, so they can create their own clothing enterprise, their clothing line, and then put them on Shopify. So we teach them how to use e-commerce, help them to get a bank account, help them pretty much with the work readiness stuff, and then they can sell their t-shirts online. So we've already got young people. My youngest young person there is 9, and she's got a hard upbringing. You know, I thought I had it hard, but not as hard as her. So, and she says things to me like, "Ma, can I really do this? Can I be my own boss?" I said, "Of course you can, Sky. You can be whatever you want to be." And she's like, "Well, people work for me." And I'm like, "Yeah, of course they will. She's like, "But I'm only 9. Doesn't matter how old you are. You're so great and you're amazing, and we're gonna get through this together." So she's created her line, and her line is on available on Shopify right now. I'll leave the link with Kay Marie so you guys can go on and buy her shirts. And then from that, you know, she says, "Oh, Ma, I also want to make tattoo stickers." And and that might be small to somebody, but that's her dream. And if that's what she wants to do, then let's go with that. So the enterprise program that we run at Matu Huruhuru starts as a clothing line, but then it kind of branches on to the wilder streams. And then we provide pastoral care support for these young people. And basically we want to break the cycle. You don't have to, you know, your dad might have been in the stormtroopers, your dad might have been in the Black Power or the mongrel mobs, but that doesn't need to be your future. And I'll show you, you know, just let's go together. So that's Matu Huruhuru, and if you see if you see our young people walking around and they've got that shirt on, just stop and give them a little mihi, because it'll mean a lot to them. They've come all the way from Auckland. I asked them to come with me today, and without hesitation, we're there, Ma, we've got your back, we're going to come. This is their first time, some of them, ever leaving past the harbour bridge, so it's a really big deal for them. And I'm just very proud of them. So my whānau out there, thank you very much for coming. I'm very, very proud of you. Ai, nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa.
Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi kia koutou, mō ngā whakaherehera kōrero o tēnei wā. Ko Alyx Pivac tōku ingoa, he uri o Ngāti Whātua, Ngāti Wai me te Rarawa hau. Such an amazing story, both of you so far, and I'm sure yours is equally as amazing. I'm very humbled to be here with a panel of such amazing young women today. And Kay Marie did ask me to talk about the Māori of the moana and what to think of in terms of business enterprise, and that's such a huge thing. I could probably talk for ages on it, but full disclosure, I don't necessarily personally believe that Māori can be measured. It's something that I guess as Māori we recognise the Māori of an entity, whether that's the moana or the whenua, the taiao. So I guess it's an intrinsic understanding of ours, whether, you know, the health of our water systems and of the moana in particular today. It's intangible, and it's spiritual, and it's also tangible. It's all those environmental triggers that we are aware of in terms of the moana, the health of the moana. What I guess in business we often become detached from is how our operations are impacting the moana and how the moana are impacting our operations. And I guess unless you're in sort of aquaculture or fisheries or something that's directly working with tangaroa, it is kind of hard to keep in mind when you are going to the office every day. So I guess in terms of the moana in business, we could probably understand that in terms of climate change, and we understand that carbon, you know, the carbon emissions are increasing over time, and with all of the businesses, we're burning coal, we're we're dredging harbours, we're doing all of these sorts of things, and we are seeing more and more of the impacts. We're seeing extreme weather events, we're seeing erosion, we know that Māori are disproportionately affected, and our communities are vulnerable to these sorts of impacts of the whenua. When it comes to the moana, we've got sea temperature rise. With the sea temperature rise, the moana takes up to 90% of the heat from the land. From anthropological impacts, the moana has to deal with 90% of that heat. So it's taking in the heat, and the sea temperatures are increasing, and that might kind of feel cool when you're going for a swim in October and it's not so freezing. What that impacts the organisms that live in there, it's impacting their ability to spawn, because a lot of them have that temperature change as a trigger for when they need to spawn, which for Māori, that's changing when our tohu are appearing, right? So our tohu are starting to appear at different times of the year. The migration of the organisms, our tuna, our whales, our dolphins, those patterns are changing as well. Our tuna are changing where their migratory waterways are, and so that's just sea temperature rise. And then we've got ocean acidification, which directly impacts the organisms that rely on calcium carbonate. And then we have the changing of weather patterns and the changing of the behaviour of the moana, which is directly impacting those communities that are low-lying, that are close to our coastal communities, which, as Māori, that's kind of where we settled, because that was where it made sense to be. So for our heritage, for our wahi tapu, for our mahinga kai, for our urupa that are close to those waterways, that's directly impacting us and our stories and our history, because the coastlines are changing. We don't know whether those urupa, there's a hapuru down south, and I can't remember who they are, but they've recently had to dig up their own tupuna away from the awa, because the awa was eroding their urupa. And that's going to be a reality for our people over the next, foreseeable future. For iwi organisations, and I work for one at the moment, it's sort of our job. I feel it's our obligation to be preparing our people and creating those climate change response plans and ensuring that there's resilience. And my ask of people who are in business, whether you're a small business, medium or large, when you're looking at your business continuity plans, is try to understand your vulnerability around climate change, around the moana, around your carbon emissions footprints. And all of this stuff is really, really technical, and I understand it, but there are heaps of resources online. I will give Kay Marie my email, and you can email me. I say this reluctantly, but this stuff's important. This stuff's important for us to have resilience around climate change. Like, we've had to pivot for COVID-19, right? We may need to pivot for something else that we're not sure of, but when it comes to the environment, we can predict some of the things. There's science that tells us what may or may not happen. So there's my one ask is around climate change resilience and ensuring that your business has an idea of a plan of what that might look like for you. My second ask is that you try to understand the impact that you're having on climate change. And so when it comes to your carbon footprint, understanding your direct impact, whether you're travelling a lot, whether what products or services that you're providing, whether they are emitting a lot of carbon, consider offsetting, and offsetting might just be planting a kōwhai tree in your backyard. That all that sort of stuff does help. So those would be my two asks. Huge take, Whānau. We've had the atmosphere and climate change report come out from the Ministry of Environment today, and things aren't looking amazing. I hate to, after all this inspiring korero, here I come along and kind of be the reality check of the day. Things aren't looking amazing, but we still have time. And so that's kind of what I'm here to promote, is to promote careful consideration on your business operations and of climate change on your business operations, and all of the ongoing issues that are coming up with us, and because it's going to come back to us as Māori, we go back to the marae and we want to manaki our whānau, our manuhiri, and we can't harvest, or we can't gather, and so it's a circle, it's an ecosystem, and I really genuinely believe that Indigenous thought is the answer to climate change, but it's going to take a lot of mahi, and I know that from the people that we have here today, from the people that we've seen, that everyone is up for it. So so my ask is climate change response in your business continuity planning and considering your impact of your business, and my offer is to support you through that, and I will give Kay Marie my email, and we'll figure something out. So kia ora tātou.
And with the GPI, we'd be able to measure all of that, and it'll be the government's responsibility to make sure climate change is measured. Yeah.
Kia ora. Unlike my mum, Raywin, who spoke earlier, I am not a public speaker at all, but I'm going to give it a try. Unfortunately, I don't think our video is able to play, so I'm not sure what happened there, but but I'll talk about what I'm here for anyway. So I'm here on behalf of the Inner Native Economy, and we started from holding an annual Inner Native market where we hold stalls for Māori or Indigenous businesses, and also we had services, and we had makeup artists, tāmoko artists, hairstylist, all come to this one market for one day, once a year, and it was located just outside here on the Hātea Loop. From that, we ended up choosing. Our location is just behind the theatre, all these buildings behind us, and the Inner Native Economy. We had a co-sharing space in one of the buildings behind us, and in one of those spaces we had an empty office, which happened to be one of the fronting rooms, and it was previously a shop. So we thought, why not bring all these small businesses together and create one space where we can co-share and co-create and sell on behalf of many different businesses. So we just closed our doors last week, so we can renovate, refurnish, and get ready for summer and the festive season, which is kind of our peak season. So this will be our third year opening for over summer, and we normally open up during October to March. Through winter we tend to fizzle down a bit, and then that's when we kind of plan the market and things like that. During COVID, obviously everyone was in lockdown, and after COVID we were closed, but we seen a lot of demand, and a lot of our suppliers had emailed into us asking, hey, I've been making this over the lockdown. We were getting emails and all over the place from our stockists and new stockists wanting to see if we would hold their stock during our close down period. So we thought, come, bring your stuff in, and we will do our best. The store, if you've ever been to our store, it's literally just right outside, so it's a hard location. We're not in town. You only see it if you're coming by or you know of the store. That's why we don't normally open during winter. However, we decided to, everything was going online after COVID. Online stores were popping up here and there, and everyone was selling on Facebook and things like that. So we thought, why not try build an e-commerce store? So that's what the video unfortunately was about. But we currently stock, I think, maybe 40 to 50 businesses through our online store. And that's purely because we sell certain products through our online store, ones that are easy to ship. We do pickups, but we tend to, for the online store, it's easy to ship, fast to ship. So we've sold well over 100 parcels just in the last few weeks and months since we actually relaunched the store. So that's actually where we have been gaining majority of our sales through our online store. And this is not for our gain at all. This all goes back into our people, our community, our local businesses, which puts bread and butter for them. This is some of these businesses, they come in and they're young mums. They don't have a day-to-day job. They're at home with their babies and they're making things. They're making product. They're making balms. Some of them are sewing bibs and clothing and kakahu, and we just hold the space where they can come in and sell through our store. So now this is the exciting bit. No, so in 2 weeks, on the 28th of October, we are relaunching our store. We currently on our books at the moment, we've just got over 120 businesses, Māori businesses, stocking in our store. Majority are new suppliers, everything ranging from art, taonga, kakahu. We've got pets and some kuri balms, and the products are endless, and we literally have businesses, and they're young girls, so they're literally young girls and young boys down to the ages of like 8 making things. So one of the things that have just come in, she's drawn on rocks. They're rocks, but it's the noughts and crosses, and she's sewn her own board, and then she's painted on the rocks the noughts and the crosses, and it's simple things like that. Those go for $5, and then over Christmas, I'm sure everyone will be buying for them for their pepees. We've got, I remember our first year we had the string. The string game. We've got Brako. So the options are endless. And what I'm trying to say is, if you've got a business, if you've got, you're thinking of making a product or anything, start out with us. We're small as well. Start with us. We don't hold hundreds and hundreds. We're all about authentic, locally handmade products with a native twist. And I'm rambling, because I don't know. I didn't even read my notes, but I think that's me. So.